15 to do here.
Yeah, I thought we'd already done it, but I guess not, huh?
A resolution lifting stage 2 fire restriction in state of emergency in Mineral County. Yeah, the Forest Service probably already did it a week, 10 days ago.
Yeah, I think so. And it's open burning now.
All right, resolution number 10-6-2017, lifting the emergency stage 2 fire restrictions in the county, making it effective, sending them effective 9:30 p.m. the 6th day of October. But don't burn at 8:30, Dwayne. We'll have to write your ticket.
I should probably go home and put that file up.
All right, who wants to move that we...
I make a motion that we approve resolution, what was the number? 10-6-2017.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Hi,
Aye.
how you guys doing?
Good.
Excellent.
Yeah, I don't have any questions, but...
Well, it's Friday we were talking, and Lori asked me some questions, like if the price, say on a project was $7,000, if that project was done in less time, you know, what happened to that money, and or what happened, I guess exactly. And I said, I don't really know. You know, we didn't really give you too many.
Yeah, what would happen is we actually have, on one of our projects, the cost will be less. And so we'll invoice for the actual cost, not what it was appraised for. So, because they're not gonna go up on the hill quite as high.
Oh, cool.
So it'll come in at less.
Okay.
So, when do these people call you for the projects, or do you go out and look for projects, or how does that?
Some of them call me and some of them I go find.
Okay, so when they call you with a project, or you find a project, how do you decide who gets that project?
So most of them already know who they want to do the work. If they don't know who they want, I will recommend the contractors that I know have the proper insurance, and that's the Godins and Brand X from St. Regis. Nobody else has called me. Nobody else has shown really any interest.
Well, this is, George Reagan said that he wants to be on the list.
George Reagan has never called me, and George Reagan has never brought any projects to the table.
Okay, well, I just, and it's not just that one. So, how do we know how, I mean, every project that we, the county has, people bid on it, and so we have a comparison as far as price goes. Do you see what I'm getting at? And so, if you only have one person that brings in or bids on it.
Right. So in the beginning, when we talked about this program, it was stated that if the commissioners did not agree with the price, we would go back to the landowner contractor preference and ask them to adjust their cost. If they choose not to adjust the cost, that's when we bring in another contractor.
But I mean, how do we know that, I mean, we're not foresters, we're not,
Right.
So how, if we don't have something to compare it to?
So the cost that we came up with on that price sheet, I know Roman agreed with those costs. So when you look at the project on the ground, I know Roman's been very involved with that. Dwayne, I know you've gone out and seen a couple.
And I've never been called to go look at it, so. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, but you can call too, Lori,
Okay.
right? So when you see the project on the ground, you look at all the work, if you have questions on the cost, $55 an hour is comparable to, it's actually less than contractors in Missoula. And that's for their labor and everything. And then we came up with some equipment costs that we thought were fair. Even, they're comparable to Kelly's costs as well for equipment. And so it's not like they're just average costs for a project. So when you go out and look at the project on the ground and you look at the costs with the hours and stuff, if you agree with that, then you sign off on it. If you don't agree, then we go back and we crunch some numbers. And if you don't agree then we go to a different contractor and get a different cost.
Okay, so if they, okay, say you come in with a contract saying it's gonna take 40 hours of dozer time or whatever, do those contractors, do they keep track of how much time it takes?
Yes.
So that if it
So
doesn't take 40
Right.
hours, then they adjust their price to
yes,
that?
then they adjust it and we will go down. In most cases, we're seeing that the landowner wants to do more work.
Once they get there and start doing it.
Yeah, because they're excited and
Yeah.
they,
See what's being done.
Right. And so then they want to do more work, so we're seeing increases instead of decreases. But like I said, you will see some that do go down. I'm out there every day checking on these guys, making sure that they're staying within the,
200 feet.
yeah, make sure they're staying within the directions of the project. They're not supposed to do any work until you guys approve the increases or whatever, because you guys could say no.
Yeah, and
Right,
we
well,
have
yeah,
to- we have
I
to-
agree, but, it's just,
So,
I just want to make sure that every contractor has the same chance at these jobs
yes,
as anybody else.
if the landowner wants them, you have to look at it from a
Right.
landowner perspective.
Right.
Right,
You have
well,
a
yeah.
project, Lori,
Yeah.
and you want the Godins to do it, you're not gonna want me to bring some stranger to your house.
No, but what I'm saying is if somebody calls and say, hey, I have a project, I need some work done, and,
You don't
and
know.
they don't know who the
Yes.
contractors are.
Yes, so then I bring the contractors that I know are not gonna put the landowner at risk.
Mhm.
And I have to tell you, George Regan was very clear to me, he would not get additional insurance for these projects. So I'm not gonna promote him to you and put your house at risk.
Well, I mean, he's that's what he does. I mean, he's done them, Roger has come and got him to do the
But-
same
Yes.
projects.
But probably not
But
next to
not
a house.
around homes.
He
It
doesn't
takes
know.
more
That doesn't
money.
mean-
Right,
That's
but
the
he said, this is what because I'm
Well, why isn't
I'm just
he
kind of
here?
getting
Yeah.
tired of
I told
Here.
him he should be here.
Well,
Why
he's
isn't
had
he
it
here? He's
because
so
he has a
concerned.
job right now. But anyway,
You're in the middle. is
I'm
what's
in the
going
middle,
on.
is
And
what
that's-
it is,
that's a
and
crappy
so-
place to be.
yeah, go.
It is, it's crappy.
It is, it
Because
is.
he's saying-
And so he
Yeah.
said, he just wanted to be able to go look at, and he said, if I don't feel that I can, if it's too close to the homes, I'm gonna say, that's a job for Godins.
Right.
That's, but he said, I just wanna have the chance to look at the project, and if it's something I can do,
Then he needs to call.
okay.
He needs to get
That-
insurance.
Well,
This
he's
is-
got insurance.
He doesn't have enough though. But here's the deal, I won't promote somebody that will put somebody's home at
I
risk.
agree, and he's
mean-
not gonna put himself in that position either.
So I'm not going to promote him to a landowner until I know that he has the right insurance.
There was a contractor that looked at trimming our trees out here on the lawn, at that time, they didn't have insurance, and they
Oh,
were
yeah.
very adamant that they wanted to do it, and they would have
No,
done it
and
had
I
we not
totally,
said
and
something.
I mean, I'm not saying that.
No, but I'm just saying, so
Right, right.
It's
they
sometimes.
may wanna do it,
Right.
and they may say, I can do that, and maybe they can do that without a hitch, but if they don't have that insurance, they don't have any business doing it.
No, I totally agree, and I know that he's not gonna put himself in the position of doing a job if he doesn't feel that he can do the job.
But you're looking at it from his perspective. You have to look at it from a landowner perspective.
Oh.
Because I cannot promote somebody that doesn't have that insurance. Now, if the landowner says, I want George Regan to do this job, then I would call George Regan and say, I have a landowner that wants you to do this job. And you come look at it. But I'm-
Okay, and all the
Yes.
contractors are from Mineral County?
Yes,
Okay.
every single one.
Okay.
But I'm not trying to leave George Regan.
No,
out.
I know, but I'm stuck in the middle,
And
so
if he would just call me,
I
Lori,
will do that. I will make sure. to
we'll
call
take you out of the middle.
And I'm
because-
confused too, because the day that you and I and George went to look at the squatter house,
Mhm.
I asked him if he was gonna be interested in doing some of the work, and he said he wasn't really interested in doing the work as much as he was getting the position
Yes.
to go look.
Oh,
at it.
wow.
So I'm totally,
Yeah.
that's why I
Yes.
wish George was here too,
Yeah.
because
And
it's this big,
I,
he's telling me and her and you and and then he's not even here to clear the muddy
Yes.
water at all, you know?
The
And I
Does he have
see quite a,
insurance and does he not?
I see quite a few, I mean,
Yeah,
Goldens do have quite a few, but I
yeah.
see quite a few other ones on there
Yeah,
too,
this
that
is-
are from, you know,
Brian
either the
Allen-
landowner
Yeah,
or,
Brian Alexander doesn't have the right insurance, but the Krebs were adamant that he does the work.
Who?
The Krebs, they live up Johnson Lane.
And it's because they hired,
Oh, right, he was already
Yeah.
doing,
They're
he
loggers.
was already, almost
But-
had the project
Right,
done,
but
right.
they-
and their house wasn't built yet for any trees to fall
Right.
upon. It was just
It was the
foundation.
structure, and
Yeah.
so we went, yeah. So they, but even TJ, Todd Jennings,
Mhm.
Dan Faller's doing his.
Mm.
Dan Faller does not have that additional insurance. But Todd is aware that if anything happens,
It's on him.
he may not, his house may be
and,
at jeopardy.
and on Todd's situation, it's mostly brush.
Like you said, if it's full disclosure and they
trees.
know,
Yeah,
and they still want them, then that's on
Yes.
them, yeah.
It's on them,
and it's mostly trees, it's,
Right.
it's,
So-
or brush, I mean, it's not trees.
yes. So, like I said, if a landowner came to me and said, I want George Regan to do this job, I would call George Regan and I would say, hey, I've got a project for you. I need you to come look at it and see what, you know, if you're interested or not. I've not had that happen.
I think you're doing a wonderful job, Stacey,
Thank
and I appreciate all the time that you put into it.
I think
I like
it's
this.
going really well.
Yeah, I think it is too. And that was we had a sense of urgency, and if we went to a bid system, I mean, we would be out, and there's no reason for it in this, I don't think in this case.
Well, I think if you did a bid system, I think your landowners are gonna be less likely to do a project. Because if it's a contractor they're not comfortable with, or somebody they don't like,
Yeah.
or maybe they have a bad history with them,
Somebody
They'll-
came in just to get the job.
yes, they'll just
yeah.
simply not do the project. And that's not what we want. We wanna get these fuels reduced, and we wanna, you know, use these Title III funds
Yeah.
and try to get it flowing into our county here, you know, and do some good. So, but if he just called me,
I
I'll
will
talk
make
to
sure
him.
that he does that.
yes. And, you know, maybe if he starts talking to you in the future to say, hey, just call Stacey or whatever. And then that takes you out of this stressful situation.
Yes.
Because it's stressful. And it's stressful for me, and it, you know, it makes me feel like maybe I'm not doing what I need
No,
to be doing.
you're doing
but-
good. We just had questions.
Have you heard from, Lee Scranton?
Yes, we actually got a bid on hers, and
Because she called George
Yep.
to come look at hers and
I went that day.
the last I had heard that she hadn't, I don't know if she hadn't got, when he went and talked to her, she hadn't got the paperwork yet or whatever. So.
No, we got, Steve went out there yesterday, gave me a cost, and see, Steve Krebs doesn't have the right insurance either, but she's comfortable with Steve. And so Steve will get that job because that's who she wants.
But I thought that they had to have the insurance.
They don't have to have it, but the landowner needs to be made aware that if they don't have it,
It's
they're
all-
putting
Full
themselves at
disclosure,
risk.
yeah.
The county's not at risk, the
But they signed
contract's,
that form.
yeah,
Right.
the contract's very clear, it negates the county from any liability. But if a landowner's unclear of who they wanna use, I'll only promote the ones that don't put them at risk. Because I don't wanna see somebody lose their home.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Or anything, yeah.
Yes, and so I will give them the names of the contractors that I know are covered. And they can meet both of them, or 3 of them, or 4 of them. Unfortunately, I only have 2 that are 100% covered for any damages.
And if you need any help, don't be afraid to call us.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is to some degree about trust between, I mean, like, the ones that I did go out on, and of course, the one I questioned,
Yes.
and then you questioned him
Yep,
for
and
me.
we,
And then he came back and he adjusted his thing,
yes,
and then you also had those concerns about those 3 that maybe didn't really have
that didn't.
pine tree. So make sure you continue to do that, because when, because we do need you to be our eyes and ears for us, but, so don't be afraid to say, hey, you guys might want to take a closer look at this,
Yeah.
maybe it shouldn't be, it doesn't fit or whatever, just,
And that's happening a lot. A lot of people are calling. Lori, I'm sorry, you seem very distressed by
No,
this.
I'm just stuck in the middle, so.
They're considering it a tree removal service.
Right.
Or tree trimming service.
Mhm.
And so I'm getting people that want their maple taken out or
Yeah.
their flowering crap taken out.
I've got a couple down there.
Right.
I better not say it.
And
Another
then-
cottonwood tree.
Yeah, and those just don't qualify,
No.
unfortunately. I'm sorry you planted some really bad shade trees and now they're taking over your yard, but those actually help in a fire. So, we would be like kind of going against the grain, and then it's like a landscaping
Mhm.
business instead. Do you guys have any other concerns
No,
on the
I
program?
don't.
I feel like the spreadsheet is odd. I mean, it would be good for the auditors. I don't know when the audit's coming, and I don't know what I need to do for that.
The only thing I just thought of, not to break your train of thought on that topic, but you're aware that, what was it, 33,000, Tim's map guy?
Yeah, and we did make.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 33 is the,
Okay.
And then I know there was some other funds that were taken out for your
Yeah,
travel
for
for
the
fire.
fire.
And your guys' travel here and there for other things, I think, I don't know, but,
Yeah, and I guess any auditing questions would be something that Jessica would help. Yeah.
and I don't even know who does the audit on the
Title 3.
Title
I
3,
don't either.
if it's her, or if it's
Yeah.
the federal government, or if there is.
yeah. I feel
Well, we
like
can-
the paperwork trail is very solid.
Yeah,
Anything that we do or amend or change is all documented properly. I don't feel like we're at risk for having to, because I know that was another big concern was the audit.
Yep.
I mean, you guys
Yeah,
have been hammered hard on this
that's
program.
everything is-
So I really tried to create a good paper trail for that.
Mhm.
and thank you, you've done good.
So they provide a tax ID number?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
So I'm
and I
just
think-
thinking about the 1099 at the end of the year, so.
Yeah, and I think paying the contractor direct is gonna be way better
Yep.
because you only have 2 or 3 or 4 tax IDs, instead of 570 or whatever it
Yeah,
is,
however many projects. yeah.
Right.
Who's this West Slope?
West Slope's not doing any.
Oh,
No, they're from Houston and
Oh.
he came out early on and did a couple of bids and then I just haven't heard anything, so I'm just trying to feed those to the local contractors.
Good.
yeah, that's what I was, we need to keep it in counties.
down to the ER, or are you going straight to the community now?
No, she's still at the
Oh.
ER. She's
Well, thank you for coming in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, he's bribing us, get that on
There's
film.
22
Going
colleges
into the wallet.
in Montana.
22?
17 public and 5 private.
Wow, I was close, I said 25.
Oh, I thought I had some cards and I don't see them. Yesterday I was up at Thompson Falls. They had a gal from Department of Labor, and there was a gal from the tourism industry. And what they had some information. They're going around the state, and they hadn't made an appointment here. They were in Thompson Falls, and they were headed down to Lolo today. But they were going to some of the areas that had fires. And there are some, they just wanted to make sure that there are some programs available for communities that may have been impacted financially by fires. And so I told them I'd bring their little handouts. I got one for each of you. And it tells some of the agencies maybe you get a hold of if you think somebody might have lost some income. And I was thinking, I don't know whether Lozo Lodge would have come under, do you think they lost income because of fire?
Actually, they made income because they had
Okay.
all the public
And-
meetings there.
And that was the other thing, and they said in Thompson too, that really the businesses did better. But places like Sealy where they
Oh, yeah,
closed
Sealy's a
recreation.
no-brainer,
and-
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
did, one guy that came to mind in Sanders County, that's in the district for me, but it doesn't affect you guys, but it might be a reference. And Cody Carr does a lot of outfitting, and now he outfits here in Mineral County, but he had to evacuate. And so I was gonna call him and see if he had to put up his guests in a motel.
Oh,
And then he could,
apply
for this, he could apply for a grant and get compensated for that. And, you know,
Yeah,
there were some
friendly.
timber sales that they had to shut down, but I don't think that affected any. I would, and that's what I said, Mineral County really, the smoke was.
other than maybe,
Maybe the fishing guides.
and like Donnelly with maybe the loss of, under this Department of Revenue one, on the property tax relief program, maybe the loss of timber value, or I don't know what happened on the place out there, but I know.
And that could be, and the other one I was thinking of Donnelly's or some of those out on the flat, if any of the fences were damaged by fire. NRCS has some grants available for fencing. And
Yeah,
I just
don't
thought you
think-
might
Yeah, I
know,
don't
you might
think-
know more if anybody got affected out there.
Yeah.
And otherwise in Mineral County, that's what I said, I don't think it really affects anybody except there's one, and that's why I wanted Dave to come in. Could possibly be some extra money for weeds,
Oh,
weed control. And I know the bear funds, what's that,
Burned
burned area
You,
resource evaluation, or?
something like that, yeah.
Anyway, they'll be going around and they'll be doing some spraying, but I was thinking of follow-up, and this ties a little to recreation. In subsequent years, if some of those four-wheelers or the vehicles that recreate in that area, or even I think there is only one trail that's even maintained out there, the company, or is there even one trail left?
none of them have been maintained.
But anyway, if there was a thought that those weeds might, in subsequent years, are gonna need more treatment, and the Forest Service, usually runs short on money for weed spraying. And so with the recreation aspect of those roads being opened and used during hunting season and four-wheelers in the summer, it might be worth Dave looking into trying to get some extra weed spray money.
Well,
And that would be related, some of that could come under, and I don't remember which agency, but it lists in there, and that's,
I know the 9 Mile District does absolutely pretty much nothing as far as weed control. I mean, nothing like the Superior District,
Right.
because you can drive any of those roads on the 9 Mile District and they're so full of knapweed that.
but this, since it's in Mineral County,
What Forest Service road is it?
but since it's in
Well,
Mineral.
actually, the Superior District does pretty good
They try,
because they
yeah.
have, well, I mean, they've got
They
Deb
do as,
Reagan is the.
they do as much as they have money for.
Right,
And
yeah.
they do, at least what they do, they spend that money on the right, they try.
They
just
kind of
don't
do
get
like the
enough.
county does, a kind of a rotation type thing.
But that's the one that I thought might help the most is, and I can't remember, I've got a list too that I can look, but if Dave kind of checked into that, one of you goes to the league board meeting. If they check into that and see if maybe they can get some extra money.
Which one is it we're talking?
Well, I'm not sure, but I'm just saying that they do have grant, thinking the recreation, what I was saying is that people drive those roads in the first year after a fire and subsequent years, they're gonna be spreading some of the weeds that come back. And then some of the out-of-state trucks maybe brought in some weeds.
Actually, well, they had
They
a wash,
spray.
they had a wash
Yeah, but
station,
it still,
whether
it still can
yeah.
happen, it can come off their clothes even.
Montana Department of Natural Resources Environmental Contingency Fire Recovery,
Okay, does that have the weed? Okay, that's the one.
reseeding.
Is
or
that on
weed
like the
control.
third page, second
Yeah.
paragraph?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, it'd be worth bringing up at the weed meeting today, but they could maybe go in cahoots with the Forest Service and get some extra funding to watch these for the next 2-3 years.
You know, just had 2 nights ago.
Yeah, well, but keep that in mind. Like I say, Dave said he had to
Yeah.
leave, but that was why I brought this stuff down. Went up there yesterday afternoon and just thought it was worth sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got the cards, they must have fallen out in my car, but she didn't have enough cards for everybody anyway, so if you need to contact her, they may contact you and want to come and talk, but like I said, the Mineral County really didn't get hit too hard with, I don't think any negative impacts like Sealy Lake
Yeah.
on the businesses. Probably more of a plus than a minus. That's all I was wanting to share.
All right.
Part of my duties that are unpaid.
Well, thank you.
That's the bad thing. I don't get paid for anything, like a trip to Big Sky. That's,
They don't give you mileage? Really? Do all that on your own? You must.
I don't have to. I don't have to go.
You must make big bucks.
Yeah, I do. I really
Yeah.
do.
I thought you guys were on some like little interim committee that sometime.
Well, if you get on the committee, but
Oh.
I was punished. I was a little too moderate.
Oh.
Gotta be hardcore, Natalie.
Yeah, I know. Well, I talk too much to be hardcore. If you're hardcore, you don't talk. You just say no and then don't discuss the problems.
I'm fine one to talk. I think I ran as a Democrat.
Yeah.
the first time, didn't
Well, I'm still in that.
I told them
Is
though.
that people you have to talk and get along to try and get things done.
I? Yep, that's
You
right.
can't just
That's something
say
they
no and
forgot.
fight. Yeah.
That is something they have forgot.
'Cause how do you ever work out solutions if you don't even talk?
Yeah, so back to enlighten me on the process now. If a special session is needed to get some of these, I mean, like, I'm kind of worried about the prisons, but, I mean, we have these mandates that say you must do this and must do that, but there's no money to do it, so then one end up like, getting sued by ACLU or whoever. So, who has to call the session now?
The governor.
The governor. And he,
And what he's doing right now, and yeah, this could be on the record. He is actually, and I think he made the statement that he needs to make sure that people are gonna work with him or else he's wasting time. And that was part of the discussion with those that I met with last. We went to Big Sky got invited to Big Sky we had a tour, bus tour of the front side, the back side, and the whole works. And then the next day we had just a meeting of some legislators to talk about.
Oh, pretty damn good.
Yeah, talk about some of the session stuff. But anyway, that was one of the topics, is to say, well, it's his job. Make sure he's doing his job before we even step in with any ideas, because the blame game goes back and forth.
Oh, you bet.
And I'm not saying the Republican side is innocent either. I mean, it goes back and
Oh, yeah.
forth. And so, but the idea is that, okay, the legislature set
the budget.
if the revenue went down to a certain level, it set a trigger. And the trigger said you've got to cut 10% out of your budgets in the agencies. And that was set by the legislature.
And that
But
ain't
the
a bad
legis-
idea.
But the legislature cannot go in and say, cut this person, cut this person. That is more the
That's the
administrative rule, that's the governor's project. So, that's really what he is supposed to be doing, and what, what we see, and like I said, it's that new car still keeps, they still think the new car is important. Well, you gotta clean house all the way through.
Yeah.
And
Where do you get the most bang for your buck and the most screaming is the services that are most needed,
Yeah.
most used.
yeah, so that's
Yeah.
being done for sympathy.
Oh, you bet.
from The
You bet.
taxpayers. But you've got to take out some of those big people, and there again, you have that little clique in Helena. Well, you don't want to take out your friends,
Yeah.
and then they better start taking out their friends. And so that's why they're avoiding that. And so the special session probably will come, and they still have to sort through, I think the last revenue estimate, the most recent one hasn't come. I think they're waiting another week or two and that one will come. And
So it may be better than
it'll
what.
be a little more realistic.
Mhm.
Might not be better, but it'll be more realistic. And so that's part of what they're waiting for. And then part of it too is nobody's gonna be quick to buy in on the session if the governor hasn't already started trying to make some of those hard cuts himself. And I know there was a discussion, and I think I mentioned that to you the other night, that I know Mako we talked about that last week. And, Mako's, you guys are better off not having a special session right away. I mean, you guys could stand to lose a little bit, because people may try to take away from the counties a little bit.
And that's what
But
Leo
there are
brought
a
up
few.
at Mako too,
Yeah,
is,
and I saw Harold Blatty's he had a little write-up the other day, and, defending you guys, staying
Yep.
out of it.
Yeah.
And I have to say, he earns his keep. He's involved,
Mhm.
he really is. But there are some solutions that people have discussed, but they're just short-term solutions. But it can ease some of it, but nobody, and even the governor has talked about a few of those, but nobody's really wanted to buy in on much until other options harder options are solved.
Yeah, you can't go in there and say, well, sales taxes, yeah.
Yeah, and that wouldn't happen.
You get shot down.
That wouldn't happen on a short term anyway. But there are some other things, I think the governor and a few others have talked about cigarette tax and for a short term, and some other things short term. But everybody's still pretty hesitant to even try and do those short term without having some of the other cuts already made. It's about 124 million that they really need to find. And 60 of that is the fire funds, and some of that was drawn elsewhere, and there's some backfilling to be done there too. So.
Do you know how they figure out the state's contribution on the fires? If the Forest Service bill is this big, and how do we know what's the state's
No, and
responsibility?
I think it's, if the state initiates it, or if it's on the state land, of course, then for sure. But if the Forest Service comes in on state land, I imagine they have some kind of a formula that's been worked out through the years, and vice versa when it's on Forest Service ground. But I don't know the formula. And that'll probably come into play if we do go to the special session. But they're figuring probably a 2 or 3 day special session. We still have 3 days left on the books.
From when you guys kind of adjourned early?
Yeah, so we're budgeted, so that's 3 days are paid for. They would probably suspend the rules, which allows you to vote twice on a bill in one day, or have both the Senate and the House be able to vote on a bill the same day to speed things up. And they say that the longer a special session goes, the worse it can be, because
Well,
then,
sure.
because then somebody starts, especially when they suspend the rules, somebody will submit a new bill for a brand new tax, like cigarette tax or something.
And get it all done before anyone realizes what happened.
Well, or try to get it done and then bog things down, bog the other stuff down. And so that's what they say, a 2-day session is better than 3 or 4 or 5. And if we went to 4 or 5, we'd have to actually vote in some more money just to have a session.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
So there it costs more money.
Yeah.
And I think that's why part of it, they want to
Merciless.
have the votes and the plan in place.
Yes, be ready to work, yeah.
You know, also kind of interesting is that, you know, the legislature meets every 2 years, and here, right on the heels of the session ending, their forecast for revenue were that far off. I mean, I can see this happening a year from now, before they, you know, get to meet again, or in between
Yes.
meetings. This was right on the heels of it.
But 60 million, half of it, you know, was not 25.
Anticipated.
It was about 25 million was kind of the anticipated amount. And so, you know, you're running another 35 million. So that bumped it up very quickly. Toward the end of session, they raised the revenue estimate a little bit. And I think they realized when they raised it, I think they thought they might have been incurring some problems, and some of that may have been to kick in these cuts. Just, there is a time when you have to clean house a little bit. I mean, you guys know,
Yeah.
you went through it. And the county lived through it, and probably is a little better for it. So that was part of this was intentional, but not to disrupt
Right,
the needy, you know,
Yeah.
health and welfare,
Yeah.
human services stuff that's pretty touchy stuff.
Yeah.
But it was, the way the cuts were set, it was kind of straight across the board, so.
Well, for the general fund stuff. I mean, special revenue, your gas tax, they're gonna be later if at all.
Right. Yeah, they say it now, like on these revenue estimates and the actual revenue coming in, there's a little bump in March, April, May coming in, and then there's a little bump in November coming in from taxes. So those two are, you know, will bump up just a little bit. Those are the highs and the lows in the yearly cycle. So there is a little light in the tunnel, but not a lot. I mean,
But, and then we have these kind of counterproductive actions, so the state needs money, they don't have money, so then they start consolidating offices, like the Department of Revenue, whatever. So now the Department of Revenue, instead of having offices in Sanders and Mineral, now they're all in one spot. Now they have trouble keeping track of new builds or, you know, add-ons or remodels, so now they're missing captured revenue that they, and then they have less money in the end because they close the office.
They don't have the people to go out to do the
To do
field work
Yeah.
to get the revenue coming in.
Yeah, there's a plus and a minus of all of them. You know, and even, well, like the schools, the infrastructure bill didn't pass, so now the schools have to go out and find a little of their own money, try to find some locally too. And that doesn't help the local taxpayers in a small, untaxed community like Mineral County with all the federal forests.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, that was what I had to share with you.
All right, well, thank
Thanks,
you.
Stanley.
Yeah.
I'll just make a motion that we approve claims in the amount of $45,939. We disallowed $5,980.36. It was a double payment on I remember signing a check a claim last month for this, KLJ.
Yeah,
And so I seen another one this one, so I asked Casey if she would check and see if it was another one. Well, she checked, but there's, in the system, there's some duplicates. This was under Cadmus, Lee, and Jackson instead of KLJ.
oh,
So when she went to look to see if it had been paid before, she ended up finding it under this one. So we disallowed, it's check number 8163 and